This is a fairway lie, normal standard lie, but it's quite tight. So it's a typical kind of linksy kind of lie, and they're often the most challenging. A lot of people, probably myself included at this moment in time, would rather be just in the semi-rough like this, where you've got a little bit more margin for error. Because here we've got to get the ball and turf. We've not really got any margin for error striking the ground before the ball, because the club's probably going to bounce. It's probably going to thin it if I catch it the ground a bit early. Or if I get the leading edge in a bit early, I can fat it. But typically it's more of a thin or a bounce off the ground you'll find on these kind of courses. Parkland course, where it's softer ground, you might find it's a bit of a heavier fat shot. And therefore, people tend to prefer these kind of semi-rough lies where the ball's sat up. But that's not helping matters, that's masking it really, because we don't want to be that golfer who has to, in the winter when it's preferred lies, tee the ball up on the fairway, find a nice lie where it's sat up with a 7-iron. We should be able to play this off any lie. So the fact you'd have to do that and feel comfortable is answering a question in itself, is like, where is there an issue with how I'm actually delivering the golf club? So that's what we're going to explore in this video. And what we're going to do is use the golf course. The golf course environment provides the perfect learning environment to challenge you to develop your best technique, because your technique evolves from playing the game. And if you pick the right shots and the right environment, the right scenario, the organisation of your movement almost takes care of itself. So what I'd like you to do is, when you're on the golf course, you can use this environment, you can use a bunker. This is really giving us everything we need to know about our low point. So what I'd do is ask yourself, can you strike? I've got a 7-iron here, fairway trap. It's about 150. It is actually 150, there's the marker. Could you strike this ball first and then sand? How comfortable would you feel? So when you're playing a few holes, if it's quiet one evening and you're out on your own, throw a ball into a fairway bunker and challenge yourself to see if you can actually strike the ball first. Give yourself a fair crack at it. It's only practice. And without any practice swings in the sand, can you strike the ball first? Well, I've played an absolute worldie. Nearly hold it. So yeah, the answer is yes, I'm off. That's the end of the tutorial tonight. So basically, of course, that's a rare occurrence. What I would do is now challenge myself to recognise what is fat, what is thin. So it's okay playing that good shot, but the question always comes, and you ask yourself, is how did I do it? Where's this variability? Where are these tolerances that I'm performing with, recognising? How do I know where I am in terms of the swing? Do I recognise the feel of the swing for that shot? So the bunker's the perfect place. And the first thing I would ask you to do is take the ball away and make 2 lines. And all you're going to do is create a little lane. And you're just going to take your stance. And all I ask you to do is, can you make a divot here near the back foot? And then step forward, can you make a divot now in the middle? And then stepping forward, can you make a divot over here near the left foot? So already we've got some sense of shifting the swing arc. And the thing about the bunker, which is almost unique in the game, is that we're seeing almost the true low point of the golf swing. Because normally the club bounces off the floor or the soil gets in the way, but here it's allowing us to see the actual gradient, the actual journey of the golf club through the sand. We're seeing the arc. And so we can see the low point. We can see where we're entering the sand, but where you're entering the sand is not your low point. The club is en route to the low point, hopefully with the ball in the way. So recognising where you're striking, then the low point, and then where the club's coming out. So how big is the divot? How deep is it? How long is it? So once we've done this, we've got a feeling of what's early, what's in the middle, and what's late. Then I'm going to ask you, or ask myself as well, because this is essentially you're driving this with intention. The self-talk's so important. The self-talk's important in terms of where you shift your attention. Where are you focusing on? Because that's where you're going to get all the detail, all that rich information that the memory stores. So taking this line here, you'll have seen this in so many exercises before, striking the sand on the line. Just after there, I'm going to try again. That's better. On the line, low point after the line, and then club ascends out the sand. But we're going to take this a little step further. What's the depth of the divot? Can you control the shallowness? Can you make a divot? Can you make a shallow divot? Can you make it a bit steeper, steeper, and steeper? While still contacting the sand at the same point. But now these are very different divots. These are very different angles of attack. That's going to change the dynamic loft. That's going to change the feel, the compression, the ball speed. It's going to change the shot, the launch, the trajectory. Very different shots with those divots. So we're starting to recognise and starting to achieve some level of proficiency here, because we've got to develop some mastery over this art. So shallow, shallow, bit steeper, and then steeper. Notice I'm even going up here when I'm going steeper. So I'm recognising I have to shift, and essentially when I'm shifting, I'm going down, which affords me the opportunity to push off. As I'm pushing off, because I've shifted in the downswing, in the change of direction, my low point now is well in front of the golf ball and well below the surface, which affords me now the opportunity to push off. Now I'm creating this vertical. It's allowing me to create some speed in my swing, but the low point's rising up to the surface, but it's still below the surface as this club's accelerating, enabling me to use the ground for the power, but control my low point. And the control comes from the push off, because when you're pushing off, you're stable. The body's stabilising itself, so that low point becomes more controlled. Now, if you're struggling with this, because it's quite a tricky exercise to do, particularly if you're used to playing off your back foot, okay, or even not even transferring, not using pressure, not applying more pressure into your trail side, not used to transferring any body weight. And if we're not used to recognising and controlling how we move mass and use pressure, then we might find that this is very variable. So what's it like if you're a back foot player? What's it like if you're a front foot player? Well, the place to recognise this, because if you're struggling getting that consistent strike and you're finding, I just can't get that divot in front of the line, or you might be really steep and you might be in front of it. That's rare, to be honest. Most people will be behind the line. And if you're one of these people who's behind the line consistently, then we need to step out of the bunker and we need to use our terrain. We need to use the environment. And the perfect place is a slope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a downhill slope. Quite severe. And what you're going to see now is my lead foot is significantly lower than my trail. And what I'm going to do is challenge myself to shift my weight forward. So shift my mass forward, which might feel a bit scary because I might feel like I'm going to do this. But what this is encouraging is a push off the ground, back. So I'm actually getting used to pushing back against the slope. That's putting a braking force in to stop my mass going forward. It's also allowing me to release the club and use the slope. Because in that change of direction, it's even happening in the backswing. As you're starting to swing up, you're starting to shift forward. You're already changing direction. I'm now organising myself with the slope. I'm tilting the swing arc. I'm swinging with the slope. And I'm actually swinging down. And I'm actually in front of the golf ball, which now allows me to go back and up. But as I go back and up, club goes down. You can see I'm taking a divot on a downhill slope while I'm pushing off the floor and back, away from the direction I'm swinging the club. If you're still thinking, well, this feels a little bit unusual, a bit unnerving, I want you to go the other way. So now we're going to switch around the other way, and now I'm making it harder to shift. So if I'm a back foot player and I struggle to shift my pressure, control my mass, then this now, if I'm here on a serious uphill slope, can I get a divot that's forward? Or is it brushing? Or can I actually shift forward and then push off and get that divot on the uphill slope but further forward, even forward of where a ball might be? So I know what it feels like to shift the low point forward, and I also know what it feels like to make my current movement, which might be what I perceive to be my swing flaw or fault. It's not really, it's just your tendency in how you're moving in terms of not recognising what you need to do to adapt your movement to go forward. So this is just your habit, basically. And how do I get from there to there? Well, this is going to make you work. Create a challenge. Create a drill, a swing exercise that makes you work to find your optimal movement, to force you to change, to force you to adapt. And then it starts to make sense. The dots start to join because clarity will emerge as you're challenging yourself, because you're going to be overcoming these little obstacles. You're going to be joining the dots in terms of how you're piecing this together, in terms of feeling side to side, up and down, forward and back. You're sensing your orientation whilst performing the swing. So you're attuning yourself to the dynamics. So I can sense now how much I have to shift the divot forward. And what I'm going to do is take that back into the bunker now. Going back to this exercise, just feeling what it's like to be back here. Now this might be similar to the feel you had on the uphill slope. Hanging back a bit. To get it further forward in the middle, I've got to feel a bit of shift. So now I'm moving up that uphill slope, maybe. And to get right over here, I've got to shift so much, but if I shift a lot, I'm probably going to fall over. So I need a braking force. So what's the perfect scenario here to imagine? It's the downhill slope, where I've got to allow my mass to go, to fall, but then I put a braking force in, use the vertical, push off. That allows me to swing, maintain stability, control the low point. So to get over here, I'm going to imagine I'm on the downhill slope, going with the slope, and then push back. And now I've got a low point forward. So if we're in this scenario, 150 yards, I've got to ensure, could be the last hole in the medal, I've got to get on that green, I've got to ensure a strike. Where am I going to go to in my mind? I'm going to go straight to that downhill slope in my mind. I'm going to let myself go forward and push back, because I've just got to guarantee almost a strike out of this. It's a long fairway bunker. The worst case scenario is that I leave the ball in. Could happen, anything can happen, but I'm going to try it again and see if I can get that low point forward. And I got it forward, but I topped it. Now that can happen anytime, and doesn't really matter. We're only here practicing. So what didn't I do? Well, I didn't actually get the ball in the turf, or the ball in the sand in this case. Now, because we're out practicing, it doesn't really matter, because I'm not really practicing. I'm practicing, of course, I want to play a good shot. I'm practicing for when it really matters. I'm practicing for when I do only have that shot in a competition. So I've got the chance now to actually have a little practice in the sand, and I want to move that forward. Now I've got a feel for it, I can transfer that through to the swing. And flushed it. On the green, happy days. And that is the process that I've just gone through there. If I keep doing that, maybe just while I'm out here, maybe in a few holes time, do it again on one of the other holes, just one ball, have a little practice in the sand, then play a shot. So you're not taking loads of time up, you're not holding people up behind you. I wouldn't suggest you do it if there's people behind. The thing is that you've just got to use your golf course when the opportunity arises, throw the ball in, challenge yourself, but have a process, have some strategy to it. Use your short game area at your home golf course. Go and practice what it feels like around on the short game area. Take these feelings, take these movements, take these thoughts onto the course and try it with the full swing. This presents the perfect practice environment, the perfect challenge. 2 or 3 balls, unbelievably powerful practice, putting you in that situation for when you're here for real and you've only got 1 ball. So enjoy it, guys, and try it out on the course, try it on your practice ground. Create these real life scenarios that are going to help you find your ultimately find your best swing.